So, number one show on YouTube. I'm Ross Nada. Put the glasses on. Moss Shinobi. Today we are doing They Live 1988. Roddy Piper, Keith David, directed by John Carpenter. We can get into a little bit of pre-production stuff as well. Shout out to everybody who came through in the chat. Fire Pixie, Greg. I'm not sure if I missed anybody else, but you guys will chime in with us. What's going on, guys? How you doing?
I'm pretty pumped, man. I'm quite hyper. The amount of chats we've had about this movie, like forever. So yeah, I'm really stoked, bro.
Yeah, I thought it would be the perfect timing.
Yeah.
Given all that's going on in current event politics, and I believe the release date was November 4th, 1988. So he literally did release it basically the day before Election Day. I don't know if 88 was one, but there certainly is one next week. So
yeah,
if the world ceases to exist, at least you guys will have the They Live Paradigm Review Show review on the channel for us for what good that is.
Yeah. At least you've got that, y'all. Shout out again to everybody, and welcome. And I'm gonna have to really behave myself and not totally nerd out on this today. So I'm gonna try.
Yeah, there is one, not really too much channel news, but you can go check out the new shows with myself and Jerome on his Donald Lee Cheney theory. I was on Jerome's Halloween show, so we just did horror movies, basically top 5 horror movies over there. Go check that out on Mysteries with Mr. Belgique, and then I might join his panel Monday, and we'll react to a couple new Zodiac things that came out. But we did a whole reaction review of the Zodiac. This is the Zodiac speaking 3-part series on Netflix. It's not great, so don't be like they didn't crack the code or you're not going to find anything astounding. But if you have never heard the case, go check it out. Oh yeah, Toxic Avenger is
next week.
We're not really planning on the world existing after Tuesday, Pixie. But if we are, we're doing Toxic Avenger the 9th. Then I think we have Red Dawn the 16th for you for Veterans Day. I posted the whole schedule under the community tab, Pixie. So
yeah,
given that you're a mod, make sure you familiarize yourself with clicking that community tab. But the whole November schedule's there for the next month. So.
Yeah, Def, I'll get it reposted on PXM as well. Put it in the community tab over there so people can see what's coming up. Oh yeah, interesting, Greg. Yeah, Piper said we are living the sequel. Yeah, they still live. Yeah, definitely.
Similar to what Carpenter said, which is that you'll always be. I have a little bit more on the They Live sequel that I discovered via Wikipedia that we can cover at the end. In the meantime, let's get into some merch because we haven't done any hard copy stuff in a while. This is my boy John Nada, NECA figure They Live. They also have Frank Armitage, who is Keith David's character. Yeah. But this has notice the interchangeable heads. Regular John Nada versus John Nada with the glasses. With the glasses on like me. You know what I mean? You got to be able to see who's who until you get those contact updates. So that's number 1. R.I.P. Roddy Piper the GOAT. John Nada. Just going to put him back there to kind of watch over this review for us. And then I do have my original Blu-ray signed by Roddy Piper. That is, yeah. That's I met him at a Comic-Con thing in Massachusetts, so that's like the worst. Like Gaz knows, I've met so many platinum rappers and whoever actors, and I was so starstruck meeting Roddy Piper because I've seen They Live thousands of times. I just did not know what to say to the guy. He had like the pen. He's like, "What do you want me to write?" I was like, and then he just wrote "No bubble gum," Roddy Piper. So awesome. that was my original Blu-ray. This one is not to be touched or breathed on.
I remember you telling me about that as well years ago. That convention you went to. So that's sick, man.
I dropped my other one, and then this is so this is what I'll be reviewing. I've been talking about the steelbooks with you guys. Obviously, insane artwork, and then this is the back.
Oh man, it's so sick.
Absolutely sick. So,
ooh,
open it. It's got the Obey alien, and then this. It's got both the Blu-ray and the. So if you just want the steelbook case and you don't even have like a 4K player, obviously you can still get the Blu-ray with it as long as you have the Blu-ray. So that's my new copy. That's the one that I just watched that I'll be reviewing. And honestly, I gotta say, guys, like I didn't really know. Full disclosure, I don't have the newest TV. If I'm going to be reviewing movies in 4K, I should probably like upgrade and get like something crispy. But my TV is 4K, but it didn't look like crazy more clear than the Blu-ray copy. Obviously, I've seen them both, so it's granted. It could just be like it's a low res port from a movie from '88. I don't really know what the deal with that was, but again, it's a movie from '88. So whether you watch a Blu-ray or a 4K Ultra disc, you're probably not going to notice that much of a difference quality-wise. But to complete the fanboyism cycle, obviously. Got to have the glasses on shirt. So that's where we're at, folks. They Live, the most greatest grindhouse sci-fi epic of all time.
Yeah. Welcome, Slip. Welcome, Jay.
LOL.
Yeah, it has to be. What I think is beautiful as well is the opening of the movie. For those who have never seen this film, which I'd be quite surprised if nobody has. Obviously, there will be some people out there, but like O.G. Conan, like Big Trouble in Little China, this movie is on TV all the time for that reason, because it's such a classic. And what's always grabbed me, man, is the way it opens, and we see Roddy like with the railway tracks, and you think it's going to be like a regular movie. You're maybe going to get an action movie because you've got that kind of iconic kind of bluesy mouth organ soundtrack all the way through. And it's got this kind of element that hooks you in straight away. And then as we get to it, just changes its head and you've got this whole other movie, and it's still so relevant as well. Wonderful film.
What that reminded me of as I was watching it this time was like Dusk Till Dawn, how it starts in one genre, basically like the Gecko Brothers, basically crime, if you want to say that, like a Quentin Tarantino, Rodriguez style crime movie. And then halfway through it kind of changes. I wonder if they got that from They Live, because I know that Rodriguez has like a massive Carpenter influence in his career. Yeah. So I just wonder if that like Dusk Till Dawn was like a page out of the They Live book, which we'll get to the twist. And I mean, I don't know. Ghosts of Mars, from what I heard, was supposed to be like Escape from Earth, Escape Trilogy 3, but it basically got adapted to Ghosts of Mars, which is Ice Cube. Die, you mindless mother! Ghost! But let's do the synopsis of They Live. So every time I go to IMDb, I feel like whatever I'm looking at like gets wiped, and then I'm back to square one. This is on Prime Video. I think it was on Tubi, but I don't know if they took it off. Just if you're looking for places to stream They Live, if you haven't seen it, I would recommend a hard copy. Genres: alien invasion, action, horror, sci-fi, thriller. I'd call it, grindhouse, sci-fi, action, B movie. Let's get Gaz's spam out of here. All right. This is the synopsis. They influence our decisions without us knowing it. They numb our senses without us feeling it. They control our lives without us realizing it. They live. Now that obviously, if you don't know what the epic poster is, it's of course the title with so I mean, like Gaz was saying with the opening shot, I love how it's the graffiti, kind of that graffito, and then the They Live is kind of highlighted. Unfortunately, we just lost Gaz, so I'm going to be holding it down. In the meantime, any questions for me, guys? Any questions about They Live, John Carpenter, Roddy Piper? I do have Piper's biography. I forgot to pull that out of my stash back here, but I have that signed as well. All right. Shinobi, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks, man. I think they know we're talking about them, so they kicked me off. Anyway.
So today is our Election Day special review of They Lit, and then our Our feed just drops in there. The show is just black for 45 minutes. Where are these guys? Yeah, In the Mouth of Madness is cool. It's no The Thing or They Live. I mean, I think my three favorite Carpenters probably They Live, The Thing, and Escape from LA. If I had to pick off the top of my head, I'm a big Snake Plissken guy. The one thing I was saying I had, Gaz, is it's not exactly They Live related, but I have Roddy Piper's biography. It's
awesome.
Also it's also autographed. I mean, I think he does talk about They Live a little bit in it, but yeah. So what we were saying is Gaz was talking about the intro shot. Real quick before we get into that too. So Carpenter directed this movie. Carpenter did the music of this movie with I think the other guy's name was like something Howard. Obviously a sick infamous theme song. And also when you see the screenplay, it says screenplay by Frank Armitage. That's the name of Keith David's character. I'm sure you knew this, guys, but Carpenter used that pseudonym pen name because he thought that it would be too much like John Carpenter if it was written, directed, music by John Carpenter, screenplay. He thought it was just too many John Carpenters in the titles. So he just like randomly used that character's name for the screenplay, which I always thought was, which was crazy. Other ones, Vampires.
Yeah, Vampires with James Woods, isn't it? That was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. The popular ones are like The Thing, Escape from New York, Escape from LA, They Live, Vampires, In the Mouth of Madness, A Prince of Darkness, I think is the other one. A lot of horror movies. Halloween. Maybe you've heard of Halloween, Greg. You might be on the wrong channel if you haven't heard of that one, bud. Piper's Into the Paranormal.
The Fog, that is a classic.
Did Piper do the original Fog? I mean, did Carpenter do the original Fog? Yeah, Russell.
Yeah, I think
it's great. Yeah, the Fog is dope. I love the Fog. So anyway, so it comes in on the train tracks with that graffiti, and it says They Live, kind of in this big overarching graph, and then it kind of just like pulls that one out, like it superimposes it out just the They Live part, which I would say, or is that the one that says We Sleep, They Live, or I think that might be the one that's in the church.
I think that is.
I think there's a couple.
And you see that again when he first puts the glasses on and he's walking past one of the stores and he looks at the buildings on the left, and then he sees that again above. I think it's on the top on the roof. Yeah. Yeah,
hell yeah. There's some cool hidden graffiti in there. So basically the like kind of intro plot wise, it's John Nada. He's a drifter. He goes to get work in Los Angeles, California. He's basically telling the like unemployment office, he came from Denver, ran out of work, and then basically gets told that that there's nothing, nothing available. So when he comes from there, here's Pixie with all the that's all the subliminals. That we'll get to the subliminal scene in a bit. So he sees the street preacher, Gaz, and he's he's kind of like preaching against the unseen enemy and whatnot. That's kind of the first hint that there's something going on.
Yeah, it is. It sets the tone that there's, as you said, there is a hidden story, what will later become the main story on the film. So it's a really nice tie-in to set it up. Quite excellent, actually.
Absolutely. So Piper comes across a work site, a construction work site, talks to the foreman, gets a job. Well, calling it Piper, it's obviously his name's not on the movie. Talks to the foreman, gets a job. He tells him like he can't sleep on the site because he's homeless, and that's when Nada meets Frank. Frank tells him that he's going to like a shelter encampment. And he can follow him. So ultimately, they come there and they get food or whatever they got to do, and that's pretty early on. Nada realizes that there's something going on with the group running the encampment. But I think even before that night, he sees a transmission from the hacker come through the TV. Those other guys they have a TV set up outside, and they're watching it. This hacker keeps hacking in and it's kind of explaining what's going on, but it's not really coming across coherently just because the signal is kind of intermittent. But the other thing that we see there is the street preacher is also intercepting the signal. Just like he's saying the words, it's just coming right through him, as opposed to what's coming through on the TV.
Yeah, definitely. Again, it's linking in and setting it up for that subplot, which will become the main focus of the movie. You see that other scene after the TV where he sees, I think it's a foreman from the side. The guy who's running the encampment when he's going into the church just outside of that, and he's thinking, right, something's going on here, because I think he sees him going there like at 4 a.m. first.
Yeah, he questions him the next day. It's like right after the signal, because that's the church is one of the places that they're broadcasting from. He brought up the female lead is Meg Foster. As,
she's in many movies, and people have always commented on her eyes. And I remember some dude saying she would have been. I don't know if she ever was. Perhaps somebody out there knows, but somebody said to me once she'd have been good in the OGV series, with them actually really being reptilians. And of course, people have had theories. I mean, that would be all of the short in itself, but yeah, definitely adds to the mystery of the film.
Yeah, she's in a lot of she's like a horror icon. She's in a lot of newer horror stuff as well.
Greg knows what I'm referring to.
Yeah, well, that's, in the thing, supposedly the ones who are assimilated are the ones who don't have the reflection in their eyes. So I mean, you could, the way she has those blue eyes, she would have been good for Dune, with the highlighted eyes. So he sees him. I forget that dude's name actually, but they've said it several times in the film. But he sees him coming in out of the church, like Gaz was saying, and he questions him on it, and the dude just kind of makes a cover story. That's when Nada starts watching him he borrows like a dude's binoculars, and he starts. He also, throughout the whole time, like the helicopter's patrolling, it's obviously watching the camp. So that's pretty much all the lead up stuff.
And it's also interesting that when he after he's questioned him, and Nada goes into the church next day, I think it's on an afternoon, and he hears all the church choir, they're singing, and of course then we see that it's a whole audio
recording.
Yeah. The way that shot is good. I always did laugh at the way, when Roddy takes that fall as well. that always made me laugh, but because obviously they had the volume maxed out so they could talk in secret, and then that would drown out anyone eavesdropping on them as well.
Absolutely.
But, I think that does need to be, I know I've already stated it 4 times, but the whole setup with this film, I feel from scene to scene, to link it is extreme. That doesn't drop, that stays as a constant, which is great from a filmmaking point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure Roddy did do his own stunts. That character's name is Gilbert, played by Peter Jackson, the dude who's running that, basically the leader of the resistance, or at least that chapter of it. The other thing that happens in there is Piper comes across the street preacher again, and he checks. He feels Piper's face to see, like, that's another hint that the other ones are internally infected, because he's feeling Piper's face to feel if there's anything under it, and then he checks his hands too, and then he's about to give him the sunglasses. He's like, hey, hold on, it's the revolution. He's like, I got something. Like, he's reaching for something, and then Piper's like, I gotta go, and he just dipped on him. Otherwise, Piper would have got we're gonna obviously talk about this. It's basically the next time Piper goes back in the building. But he would have got the sunglasses sooner, so he probably would have known what was going on sooner. Now, if that was the case, we wouldn't get the epic fight scene that me and Gaz are about to come to later, because they made it a lot more interesting of the whole sunglasses voyage. But yeah, if you've seen the poster and the artwork, obviously the t-shirts, any of the They Live merch, you see that the prominent feature of the sunglasses.
But I've got to say this: when he first does put on the glasses and he's walking down the street and he's seeing all the signs around him, the signs in the stores, the TV commercials, like the I forgot what they call them now. No, I don't want to say airships, but like the advertising balloons in the sky with everything. And the way that's shot from a camera point of view and everything that's, there, and it said, what was that point? Sleep 8 hours, rest 8 hours, work,
marry and reproduce,
submit, everything.
Follow,
consume, do not question authority, everything. And I'm trying to behave because we can get at this later about the influence on music and hip hop and punk and hardcore
pop
music.
Culture.
From everything. But the way that's shot and that whole message, which is still relevant now, it's so powerful, man, and it has such an impact on you. And I think anybody who watches this for the first time, or maybe hasn't seen it for a long time, welcome, Ed. You'd look and think, man, and then you'd realize and think, right, this was back then, and this is still happening. It's just obviously evolved to even smarter methods of getting all of these ads out there. What kind of, I know we've both seen it so many times, but when you see that, does that still have that same impact on you?
Yeah, actually, you know what? As you were saying, I noticed actually a lot more. So this time I was trying to, especially when he goes down the magazines, because there's quite a like the ones that we're familiar with are like obviously at the traffic signals. There's the radar, the kind of like invisible radar that's above it that's rotating, saying sleep, sleep, sleep.
Yeah.
So that's supposed to be like the hypnosis, keeping society under mass hypnosis. So like the popular ones are obviously like obey because of that guy made the whole shirt. I think Mark, what was it? Mark Echo who did that, or one of those guys did the whole obey shirts and the obey hats, and really all that comes from They Live, like Gaz was saying. But when he goes to the magazine stand and he goes down the line, the camera basically follows Piper's perspective, as Gaz was saying, as he's reading it all, and there was quite a few like no ideas. Stay asleep, no thoughts. Like there's really a lot more than like Gaz said, the popular ones are sort of obey, consume, stay asleep, marry and reproduce. But there's also like submit is in there, follow is in there, no ideas. So I knew we would talk about it. So I was like, let's try to pick some of the lesser known ones. But really just before that, just like slightly before that, so Piper goes back in there during the recording after. So it's after the camp is raided when he gets the sunglasses, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is that night, the police, which are obviously, you don't know this yet, but they're obviously controlled by another dark faction that we're hinting at. They come sweeping in with bulldozers and they completely bulldoze the camp. And obviously throughout this time, like, Piper's been watching Nada's been watching the helicopters with the binoculars and stuff, so he knows that they're under surveillance. The camp gets raided and bulldozed, and a few of them get away. Nada rescues like one kid, but the street preacher and the hacker dude and the guys that are all part of that resistance group, most of them, you don't see Gilbert, but everybody else that was working with Gilbert, they get cornered and they're getting beat down by the cops, like police brutality theme. So Nada escapes. He helps like a couple other people escape. That's like when the dude is smoking the butt. And he's like, somebody start World War III. It's the next day. It shows Piper go back to the camp, and he goes back in the church, and then he finds the box in the wall, and then he sees that there's sunglasses, but he's like looking through the box because he thinks like it's probably not just sunglasses, like because he doesn't know what it is yet. Basically, is what me and Gaz are getting at. So he goes and hides that box. And that's when he puts them on for the first time, walking down the street. And then that's the scene Gaz was referring to. He finally sees that all of the signs and the billboards, they're all subliminal messaging, the secret radar dish on the traffic signals, to everything you look at, the magazines, any billboard, any article, any magazine, any advertisement. And then this is also when he first sees the aliens, the dude who walks up to the magazine stands like, what's your problem?
What's your problem?
Piper's staring at his face, and Piper's like this to be like, okay, like, like regular human, like alien inside the human, regular human, you know what I mean? So, and then you could see Piper does a super good job with his like expression of like how shocked you would be to like, see that. You know, I know like probably as a wrestler and acting is probably not going to be like what comes up in this movie when people talk about it, but I think Piper's Nada performance is actually really good, quite similar to Schwarzenegger's performance in Total Recall. The whole idea of like your world is like a fabricated, you know, artificial, you know, world. So, and then also the money when the dude pays for the magazine at the stand. When Piper looks at the bills, it says like, obviously the subliminal. It's like they look like bills, but then when you look at it with the glasses, it says this is your god.
Is this when he first sees that, or he is the news reporter as well? With, I'll just say, the alternative news presentation. Where it's kind of saying to everyone, "Oh, you're happy," and kind of stay in your place, kind of thing. And then is it after the magazine stand when he goes into, I guess, the mini market, and he sees all of the aliens amongst us, and it's pretty, again, just the way this is shot, I keep stressing this, but it's really powerful stuff, because you hear kind of like, mundane, normal, generic conversations you'd hear every day, but because he's got the glasses on, you can see, well, actually, this lady over here, is an alien or whatever, and of course, it's hilarious when you get the old lady who he accidentally bumps into if you want to take it from.
So he sees two guys talking, and one dude is like, "Hey, what should I do about the promotion?" And the guy's like, "Hey, patient, it will come." And he's like, "That's easy for you to say. You got the promotion." So the context guys was saying is like the dude who got the promotion is the alien. He's the sellout. The human dude is you're just getting overlooked for everybody else that's in the club. I heard that this was one of the most expensive scenes in the movie because stocking that grocery store with all the groceries, apparently like they actually bought all those groceries, which made it like a super expensive scene. So pretty interesting. I haven't seen Idiocracy, but I definitely got to watch this soon. Maybe I think I'm gonna watch The Apprentice tonight, but maybe I'll watch this tomorrow night.
Yeah. We could maybe add that to the list and then kind of do a comparison as well for you, Pixie.
Yeah, I love Mike Judge. I would like to do Office Space. Formaldehyde face. So this is what Gaz is getting to. So Nada walks over to the TV and he sees the politician on the podium, and it has like the obey. It's the iconic, like probably the image I showed you guys. Probably the image I showed you guys in here, which is the iconic alien, president, politician with the obey behind him, and that's what he like. Kind of get some Nada commentary like, oh yeah, it figures it would be something like this, and he kind of for the first time reacts to what the situation is. That's when he backs into an older lady and he starts going in on her. I think that's what you were talking about, Gaz. He starts.
It is.
Her head looks like it fell in cheese dip back in 1947.
But it's so. I mean, it's. They use comedy and humor so well in this film, but there obviously is a very, very serious message as well. And that scene typifies the rest of the movie for what will happen for exactly that. And, after he's kind of said those insults to her, I think that's when she gets, the famous watches they all have. And she's like, you've got one that can see. And then, of course, you see that other lady in the story, and I've got one that can see. And then she's describing him. What it looks like. This is when he the cops greet him in the alley, who are actually alien cops. And and Nada gets into a fight with them. So many iconic lines in this movie where the cops said, Nada, you just look as, don't think I can say it because we might get, I'll say poopy just so we don't get demonetized.
Yeah, you look bad.
It's
to you. So there's a little bit more. So he falls over something in the store. And then as Gaz said, then they all start like reporting in on their watches, which are like two-way radios back to home base. And obviously because from this point out, so we kind of didn't mention this, but from this point out, as soon as he puts on the glasses, everything's shot in black and white. It's from the perspectives of having the glasses on. So color, your regular eyes, no seeing. Then once you put the glasses on, you can see black and white, and then you can see like who's human and who's not. And it's about 50-50. They're mixed in, that there's enough of them that it's like about half. So he trips over some stuff in the store. Everybody starts reporting in, like Gaz said, his description, what he's wearing. I've got one that could see. And that's when he dips out of that place. He's going down an alleyway, and that's when two officers, uniformed officers, pull up on him. But because he's obviously wearing the sunglasses, he can see that they're both aliens. So there's a little bit of back and forth. They basically said like, hey, as Gaz was insinuating, they basically try to proposition him. They're trying to bribe him. Like, hey, you stumbled onto something big here. Maybe we can all benefit from it. Type thing. Whereas even if you discover, if you are one of the unlucky humans that stumbles onto the conspiracy, well, they'll make you a deal and you can come in on the club, and you know what I mean, and be one of them. So Nada essentially fakes that he's going to submit and goes along with them. But as they grab his hand, he clotheslines the first dude, laces up a 3-piece on the other guy, beats the bag out of him. He takes out his revolver and he's loading it, checking the rounds or whatever. And as he's doing it, the other alien officer draws on him and starts shooting at him. Nada blows that guy's head off. That's probably, I think that's at least the first gun kill.
It is, yeah.
Nada shot a cop in broad daylight.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't work.
When is it though? When is it when we first see Nada's reaction to wearing the glasses for a prolonged period? You know, and he takes them off and you get a headache if you wear the glasses. When do we first see that? Is it later when Keith David joins him in the hotel, or is it before?
I think before. He definitely.
It is, when Meg Foster, isn't it?
Yeah. He says it in the hotel with Frank, but I think he actually does react to it when he's walking down the street, because when he takes him off, he kind of rubs his head a little bit. But so after there's after this, we'll just say that he gets I believe it's a shotgun out of the cop's cruiser. And he decides to take that for a bank. So we'll do some iconic lines there and some shootout fun. I've seen parts of it, but I've just never seen the whole movie. You know what I mean? But Mike Judge is my guy. Of course, I love Mike Judge. So we'll come to that. There is an effect of wearing the glasses that we'll address. So he gets a shotgun from the cop's car. Running down the street, runs into a bank.
That famous line.
Yeah, comes into the bank with the shotgun. Everyone's seen this meme. Everyone's seen this GIF. Wearing the sunglasses, he can see obviously which of the bankers are human, which ones aren't. That's when he comes out with the legendary, "I have come here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum." Right after he says it, one of the security guards just starts shooting at him with a pistol. Nada blows that guy away, and then he just starts offing aliens in the bank, which I think at this point, the movie hits its grindhouse peak, and also he's killing bankers, so whatever. Obviously, the point is he's killing the aliens, but he does kind of just start emptying rounds into the crowd, at random, you know what I mean? Which is kind of when this movie starts to hit its peak. But the bubblegum line, there's been a lot of deep dive research into it. So apparently Piper wrote down a bunch of wrestling promos, guys, just by hand, and gave them to Carpenter. And Carpenter said that's where it came from. But Carpenter and Piper both said, or Piper said, when they did that scene, as soon Piper essentially improv'd it, they knew he was going to use the promo line, but they didn't really know when. But he did it right there in the bank. And then he said as soon as he landed the line, Carpenter was like, "Cut, lunch," and I think they almost won. I think they almost one-taked it, basically, from what Piper's story.
That's awesome.
Doesn't surprise me. It was just perfectly flawless, grindhouse dialogue in action, freaking hilarious production stuff. So he starts blowing dudes away in the bank, just smashing people, grindhouse style, just dumping freaking 12-gauge shotgun rounds into alien bankers, and then he runs out the back, and that's when he sees the first drone, which I thought the drone angle was way ahead of this movie, because this is 1988. This is most of us didn't hear about drones till 2010, you know what I mean? So I just thought this was way ahead of the curve for Carpenter. I guess
I was going to say it so is. I mean, if you think as well, man, there's references to so many things that we could even do series on other shows on. For example,
Right.
secret underground cities, secret underground bases. Greg, you probably know again what I'm hinting at. It's all in this movie. It's all there. So, and that was way, way, way back.
Yeah, just ahead of the curve. I mean, people try to say like They Live is like not realistic because it's this low budget B movie, but like if you like Gaz was saying, the actual concepts, obviously like anti-imperialism, anti-consumerism, you know, all of that Soviet and Third Reich, influence, which obviously George Lucas uses a lot in the Star Wars metaphors. I think you could see it carrying over here, and They Live in a different way, but just like for him to be that ahead on drones, just like a lot of the radar, a lot of the technology he showed. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Deep underground military bases. Pixie knows her stuff. Just how ahead of the curve they were on just some of the tech. Obviously, like the two-way radios and that all of that stuff, like that Gaz mentioned, all becomes a big thing down the line. So yeah, he says he has a line towards a drone like, "Hey, little fella, come to tell on me," and he's like, "Not nice." So he blows that thing out of the sky. It was cool how he reacted to the debris too, because he shot it like right above his head. So obviously it would like, you know what I mean? He kind of like ducked, because obviously it'd be falling on you if you shot it right above you. And I think we missed one thing at the end of the bank shootout. Doesn't one of those aliens give another description, like long hair?
It's the first time you see them take the teleport, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
So then he did a description, and then he disappeared, and that comes up later.
Yeah, and Roddy's reaction to that was good as well.
Yeah, so basically, as Nada's getting out of there, he runs into one more officer on foot, a cop on foot, but he's still wearing the glasses, so he can see that it's a human. So basically, what you see at this point is Nada's he's not really openly killing humans, even if they work for, you know what I mean, the aliens, because most of them are unwittingly. They just don't know. They don't know about the conspiracy. There's no way for them to know. You know what I mean? So he says, "Beat your feet." He lets that guy run away without shooting him. Just like, put your gun down, and then lets the dude run away. And I think Nada goes back to the alleyway where he hid the sunglasses. He's trying to obviously recover them. So he sees like the trash guys are picking up the trash can that he hid it in, and there's kind of a funny scene with him just opening the operator arm of the of the thing and just pouring out all the trash out of the back, which is kind of hilarious. So he does get the box, and he recovers, I think, one pair, or he gets, I don't know, I think he gets some of them back anyway. And I think this is right around where our boy Frank shows up for.
I think I'm trying to. Does Frank show up before Nada first encounters Meg Foster, or is that after? Because
maybe I skipped some stuff. Yeah, maybe Frank. Okay, good call. So I think Nada. Yeah, maybe I had that messed up. So Nada actually goes to the parking garage, and that's where he encounters Meg. So he essentially kidnaps her for all purposes, but just jumps. Like, first of all, I love how like it's Piper and the dude is massive, and he squeezes in that tiny car. Like, would you just find the girl with the smallest car to escape? Like, they're not going to see the massive wrestler sitting in the passenger seat.
Shoulders hunched down. Just
it's like a tiny BMW or whatever it is. It's like the smallest freaking model there is. So so that was my bad. I fast forwarded on us. So it's
all right. It's usually me who does that, so don't worry.
Yeah, no. And her name is Holly. So he encounters Holly, and he just tells her like, "Hey, we got to go back to your place." She soon find out on the way over there that she works for the radio station. She's like in the pocket of the aliens. She's just saying that like, yeah, they're not controlling anything. They're not controlling the TV station, which we all know is nonsense. They go back to her place, and then this is what Gaz was talking about, where Nada reacts to like the effect of wearing the the sunglasses that help you see. It has like a headache effect, and just like, you know, basically essentially he compares it to a high. So they talk a little, he tells her a little bit about like, hey, you could put these on. And right off the bat, you kind of know that there's something up with her, because she's like, oh, well, if I look through your glasses and I don't see what you see, I'm going to see it anyway. She's basically like playing the victim, like, oh my God, this guy is kidnapping me at my house and I don't know what's going on. It's just, she's playing it up to the point where you're like, it's not necessarily believable if you've seen this movie more than once. At some point they hear the sirens or whatever. I forget why he looks out the window. He says like,
doesn't he? He walks over near where the TV is, and hears the sirens, and you see, I think, 2 patrol cars coming up towards the house, and then that's when she hits him on the back of the head, I think, with possibly a bottle, I think it is.
Yeah.
And that's when he takes a tumble through the window and down the hill, and
sick stunt, by the way. But yeah, she brings him a drink, and then when he looks out the window, she smashes him with the bottle, like in the back of the head, which sends him out the window, as Gaz was saying.
Yeah, and then he sits on like an underpass. We get a shot of the glasses he was wearing that are left in her apartment, so that kind of sets up her appearance later. But again, you know, there's something off with this chick, even if it's your first time watching, you'll just know.
That's what it is. So he fell out the window, so he lost his first pair.
Yeah,
so that's why
and then that sets it up for what we're going to get to, our most favorite scene in I think in movie history, which we're going to get to, the best fight scene ever.
Yeah, he essentially like sleeps in like an alleyway, and he's like watching some person's like TV. There's a big thing about like people like watching TVs through people's windows, and just like what's being said on the way, you know, basically consumerism themes, and what's being said on the news of people wanting to be a TV star and all that, just kind of like idolizing television stars. Another good hint at the beginning too is when he's walking by and there's that one dude watching all the TVs on the street, and he's kind of just like in a trance. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it gives you a setup too, that there's like a signal coming from from the televisions, and that's also what the hacker was saying too. If you pay attention to all the game that he was giving, is he was like the television still emit a signal even when they're turned off, which kind of semi holds true today. So yeah, he's essentially sleeps in that underpass or alleyway or whatever, and then the next day he goes back. He tries to go back to find the sunglasses.
Yeah, and then that's when I think he goes back to the site he was working on. Encounters Keith David, who's like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Get away from me, man. And Ada's saying, look, you've got to come with me. It's to kind of save you and your family. Yeah. And that then sets up the scene for the alleyway brawl, which we can do a deep dive on.
Yeah, I mean, by this time they blasted Nada's face all over the TV, like as a terrorist and a criminal, basically like a serial killer. So that's all Frank really knows is what the mainstream narrative is. And he's like, hey man, he's like, I don't know what you did, but you got to keep in mind at this time, Nada knows that they're aliens and Frank still doesn't know. So he's just, all Frank knows is what's on TV, which is like this guy's going around killing people. That's how they can make it look. So Frank gives him one week's pay. Just to like, hey, get him on his feet, or hit the road, or get the hell out of here, or whatever. And he tells him like, hey man, he basically tells him the conversation they had when Nada was telling him about all the stuff going on in the church at 4 a.m. And he told him like, leave it alone. He's like, it's not my business, it's not your business. He's like, I'm walking the white line. Nobody bothers me, and I don't bother them. And Nada tells him, the white line's in the middle of the road. That's the worst place to drive, So it all kind of comes back to this fight, which is when Frank gives him the roll of cash, and Nada's trying to warn him. He's like, "Hey, wait!" He's like, "You got to put these." That's where like the put the glasses on, the infamous "put the glasses on" line comes from, because they say it 50 times in this fight. But so I'm going to tell my story about this fight, guys. I was watching, might have been MTV or something, that had the side by side of South Park the cripple fight, when they recreated the They Live fight, and I was like, and I was watching like Timmy and Jimmy, and like and so I didn't know, I hadn't seen They Live yet, so I didn't know what movie that was, and I'm just like watching like freaking Roddy Piper and Keith David beat the crap out of each other, and I'm like, because they literally played the side by side because it's like the same choreography, and I was like, what movie is that? I was like, and then eventually someone sent me that scene that Gaz was talking about where Nada puts on the glasses and sees all the black and white signs and stuff, the subliminals. But yeah, just absolutely hilarious. So, I mean, I think it's like an 8 or 9 minute fight. I think at one point this was like one of the longest fights in movie history. Yeah. And yeah, it's hilarious given that these two characters ultimately team up and end up working together for the rest of the movie. But in the middle of this movie here, they beat the freaking crap out of each other. A lot of sick wrestling moves from Piper. Yeah. They're basically fighting on asphalt, so they definitely had to pull those falls on when they were hitting the ground, which I'm sure was pretty tough. I think for what I read, just like behind the scenes, Frank was showing Piper like a lot of the hand-to-hand striking because he had the boxing, and obviously Piper had the wrestling. So what they put together is the most insane, ridiculous street fight in 80s grindhouse cinema. Just beat the ever-loving crap out of each other for almost 10 minutes straight.
Yeah, and it's so well choreographed, put together. As you said, you've got the bare knuckle boxing with Roddy's wrestling as well, and it kind of does feel like you are watching a pro wrestling fight with a bit of boxing, which you would expect given obviously Piper's background. The humor is still there, the dialogue, the chemistry that they have as well. It's so entertaining, and it doesn't let up. It is just pure bone-breaking crunching, literally, as Ross said to guys. It's kind of like me and Ross just deciding, right, let's have a 10-minute kind of nearly kill each other fest. Right, welcome to Paradigm Reviews. We're both sat there like half dead. But there's that part, even when halfway through the fight, folks, the scene where David stood up and he's like leaning, I think, on a wall, and he's like clutching his back after he's just been slammed by Piper, and it's almost like, just give me a minute. And you think that's gonna stop when you first see it, when you first time watching this, and it doesn't. It goes over, and they start again, and then there's another scene where you think Frank has got the better of Nada at that time, isn't there? And like Nada's on the floor, and then he gets up, and then he literally lets out a roar, runs over to him, slams into him when he's over the other side of the alleyway, and then they start again. And it's just it's pure entertainment. It really is. It's like that over the top comic book violence, but in such an entertaining way. But it's almost like the forging a brotherhood for them to work together for the rest of the film, especially when Frank does actually, when Nada does put the glasses on him, and then he sees the world in black and white. Think he sees some of like the pizza face aliens, as they're often called, from They Live, and doesn't one of the drone appear for the second time in this scene as well? Yeah,
that's when Frank gets the glasses. But there's quite a bit in between. So right at the beginning, Frank is swinging on him. And he's like, I don't want to fight you, and Nada blocks like a couple punches, and then on the third one, then Nada just socks him back in the face like the whole time. It's like, I don't want to fight you. Then back and forth. Some of the lines, like halfway through the fight, Nada's like, put the glasses on, otherwise start eating out of that garbage can. And that's when Frank drops his backpack and like kicks it. He's like, not this year. Just up until the very beginning, just like multiple takedowns, like Gaz said, Nada, rushes him across, takes him down from behind. And then towards the very end, Nada grabs a 2x4 and he's like swinging around in 360 circle. And they're fighting by a car. Nada smashes the back windshield of the car. And then, Frank takes a bottle and he breaks it, and he's like, and Nada laughs. They punch each other a few more times, but at one point, Nada's trying to get him to wear the glasses, and Frank is about to stomp it with his Tim, and right when his foot's about to come down on the glasses, then he goes up and head kicks Nada. It's like he fakes it. He fakes a stomp and then head kicks him. Just absolutely. Yeah, I don't know about that UFC card. It looked kind of mid. I'm going to be real with you, Pixie. But yeah, absolutely hilarious fake outs. So after Nada beats the ever-loving bag out of him, he puts the glasses on Frank, like Gaz was saying. And he drags him out to the alleyway. He starts to see like the subliminals, the same things that we were talking about before, and then he does see one of the drones, like Gaz was saying.
Yeah, and doesn't this kind of like recreates the scene when Nada first has the glasses on with him and Frank walking down the street, and they're seeing all the aliens around them, all the signs, you know, with everything we've been chatting about a bit and all of that. It's kind of like that recreation, but Nada kind of it is guiding him through it, because I think there's one moment that possibly looks in, like, I think walks past a barber shop, I think, or I know it's some store, and then they go in and get the room in the hotel, and then that's when Gilbert meets them later. But just before that, I think what's interesting is when they first get the hotel room, Nada and Frank is asking him kind of, well, how long have they been here? And, you know, Nada's just recently new to this as well, so he doesn't know, but obviously knows there's something being going on, and they must have been here for a significant amount of time. And it's just like this it really is, and I think this is what's testament to the movie. It's like two regular guys just all of a sudden becoming awake and aware of the world around them, that isn't the real world. The real world is beneath that, and is being controlled by these alien beings that have an agenda, and we're just a resource to them, as will be revealed later in the film. But that whole kind of discussion with them, the facial reactions, the way it's set up, them looking out the window at everything around them, that's again another powerful narrative, I feel, and powerful from the way it's shot as well, because you think, well, that's how you would be talking with someone. Be like me and you, if we were staying somewhere, and we'd be like, hell, man, this is actually real, all these, you know, things we've seen or discussed, and like, man, this, you know, it's like kind of like, the Matrix is real, I guess, that kind of thing. And this is way before the Matrix.
Absolutely, this is almost 20 years before the Matrix, or at least 10. What was I going to say? So there is like that monologue from Piper in the hotel room, which again, I think is way better acting than this movie gets credit for. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So some good acting between them both, and that final exchange, kind of, what are we going to do type of scene later. How are we going to react, as Gaz was saying. So as Frank goes out to get some groceries or supplies or food or whatever, coming back into the hotel, he runs into Gilbert again, who we know from the Resistance. And that's when he tells them about there's a meeting, another top secret meeting from the Resistance group, invites them to that. And I think that's pretty much the next scene we see.
Yeah, it is. They get invited to the meeting for the resistance leaders, and I think the next shot is literally Nada and Frank making their way to the meeting. There's the guy guarding the entrance who has a classic opening line as well. And now live, it's evaporated from my mind, but he says something to them before they go inside the headquarters, and it's another line that doesn't get talked about as much as others, but a lot of people do reference it, and it's really bad of me now that I can't.
I think it was something about like it's the revolution or welcome to the
something like that, isn't it? Yeah,
something like that.
Something like that.
Sure, we could Google it.
Yeah, and of course, then they're taken inside, and you see all the resistance members. Frank and Nada take the glasses off. Yeah, because there's the lady says it's all right, we're all human here, and of course they've got they're getting their headaches too, wearing the glasses for a prolonged period, and that's when we see them introduced to the contact lenses that they've just got in. Perfect way how they're using simple props here in this film at the time to convey such a deeper message. Now, of course, they've got the effects and everything. But I always thought that was really good practical use of just using a simple item just to promote such a deeper story for people. And I think then Gilbert comes over to talk to them after that.
I was going to say unpack a little bit more, but functional to the revolution as well, because if you're wearing these, they can look at you and see you're wearing these. They know you can see them, but if you have the contacts on your eyes that you can't differentiate from your eyeballs, then it's like they don't know who can see at that point. So it makes a lot of sense for them to make that upgrade. And she's like, this is the new shipment. It just came in, which was cool. You kind of get some of that insight on the resourcefulness of the revolution, as Gaz was saying. So, Gilbert comes over and talks to him. They start picking out some gear, grabbing guns. He told them not to make sure they weren't followed. And there's just kind of a back and forth between Gilbert and the freedom fighters because they've been attacked so many times by the cops and the SWAT and the aliens that they're getting restless and they want to strike back. And Gilbert's pretty much trying to tell them, like, bide our time, strike when the moment's right, because if you strike early and you hit them too early and it's not it's not as effective, you might only get kind of one shot. That's essentially what Gilbert was telling him. From my interpretation, guys.
No, I think you're right. It's selecting a right moment, or all the resistance will be compromised and will be pretty much wiped out. That's what that is. And again, as you rightly pointed out, a way of them being undetected by wearing the contacts. The aliens know if they're wearing the glasses, they can see them. And you do get a shot. I think you get a shot of a board as well, which got some kind of writing on it with some of their objectives, possibly, if I've remembered correctly.
Yeah. I think there is some stuff on there that I kind of forgot to look at this time, but I know what you're talking about. I definitely seen it before. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. So they're kind of just getting up on equipment, and that one dude talks about what Gaz referred to earlier, the two-way radio and the expensive watches. And also the disappearing act, the teleportation escape. He kind of explains that to him. If we can figure out how to get this going, so that's kind of a hint that you might see that later on. That's when Gilbert talks to one of the dudes in the crowd, and he's like talking about working at the TV station and looking for the main signal and saying it might be going out there. And this is where we're reintroduced to Holly. She's like, hey, I'm over at the station too. The signal's clear. It's not going out. Which is like, right when she says that, you're like, hey, how would you know that? If you're either an insider, and if you were one of the unknowing humans, like you probably wouldn't even know that. You know what I mean? Which is kind of like sus for her.
She's arguably, I suppose, that's I guess not to be a fun spoiler, but that's probably one of the only negatives, that it's so obvious she's a collaborator. Blatantly so, and I guess but because the rest of the film is that good, I think that's why we overlook that, to be honest. But her betrayal's coming. From when you first see her. I think as well when the camera pulls back, when Gilbert's telling them about the signal, you see the hacker guy and the TV signal again of him. I think it was something like you're all asleep or something like that, I think, which I always thought that was pretty good. It's kind of like showing you behind the scenes of what these people have been doing, and then how are we going to wake the rest of society up to what is actually happening. Is this when we get another legendary scene?
In my opinion, yes. So shortly after Holly says that, and then Piper's like, Nada's like, hey, I got to go talk to someone. He goes over to talk to Holly. I think right then the enemy bursts in the door, and they get the meetup gets raided, then there's just some back and forth shootout. Quite a few grimy grindhouse kill scenes of the resistant fighters getting shot down by the police. One dude goes to throw a nade, and he gets shot before he even throws it. The nade just kind of blows up the table of guns and explosives. And then quite a few of the resistance fighters, men and women, get shot, I think, like basically right in front of Holly as she runs away.
I've got to say as well, I mean, we've always talked about the epic fight scene, but this to me is one of the next most legendary scenes, because the amount of weapons that are used just attacking this small base, small number of people, you'd think it was gonna, right, we're gonna reinvade a whole country or something again, because it's like literally like, let's use the World War II arsenal.
It's like that guy that was smoking the butt said in the first raid, somebody start World War III, you know what I mean? But like, I mean, you got to keep in mind, like, the movie essentially takes place in Los Angeles, so a massive, urban shootout with people throwing grenades at each other in the streets and the alleyways. But particularly the angle work. So as Piper and Frank escape, Nada is trying to recover Holly, but they basically get pinned down in an alley. And Frank's telling him, like, if you go run out there in front of 50 guys, like, you're going to be toast, so just like, you got to just let her go. It did show Holly kind of run away in the crowd, but it didn't really show what happened to her. Kind of just, she was out there. But this scene right here, so the cops and the SWAT are pushing them back down the alleyway, and Frank and Nada are kind of looking up at the rooftops, and you got like cops on the fire escapes. And basically when they look up, it's like the black and white shots that you can see, like the cops are obviously the pizza face aliens, like Yaz was saying. But just the shot, basically you have the shots of Nada and Frank kind of in color, kind of shooting up, and then it goes black and white. You can kind of see the reactions of the cops getting shot and falling off the rooftops. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 sequences back to back there that is just absolutely sick, Love that shootout.
Yeah, the angles are excellent. Right from, like I said, the amount of weapons that are used at first, it's very over exaggerated but entertaining. But then, as you rightly said, Ross, when Frank and Nana are in the alleyway and they're pinned down at the end, and like Frank says, no, you can't go out there, and you see the SWAT coming towards them. The angle in the camera work is excellent, and this is when I think Frank that uses the watch that guy in the resistance base said it hasn't been working properly, and then we see an actual hole open up in the ground, which because the message on the watch says this will only be open, I think, for 10 seconds. I think it is
emergency exit. So Frank is screwing around with it as they're pinned down, and he kind of throws it to the ground, and you can see the kind of glittery kind of electric effect signifies the malfunction. And it's like, watch whatever escape device, watch malfunction. It kind of opens the hole, and Nada's like, get in there. And Frank's like, are you crazy? We don't know where that thing goes. And he's like, I mean, we're basically pinned down in an alleyway. That's the only way out. Yeah. So Frank jumps in, Nada covers him, and then Nada jumps in with like 1 second to go. I always laughed how like Nada counted it down to like basically close, and then he jumps in the last second. And then when they pop in this like underground emergency tunnel, like there's just nothing above them that like could have been a portal, that like it obviously it's almost like it was like metaphysical ether, the way it created the
amount, exactly. And that's a good point. The amount of subtle references to so many other things in this movie are insane, as you just said there. I mean, when I think when they first drop through that hole and immediately look, I think it would be to possibly Nada's right, and this to say what language is that on the wall, and say I don't know.
Both languages,
as Pixie commented on what I was trying to subtly reference earlier, they're obviously in a dome, which there's loads of talk about that now, but again, that's whole other areas. But even the way, again, the camera work shoots back and you see the whole corridor, and even this is when I think they walk around the corner, and you see the two guards in the urban camouflage. You celebrate that the terrorists have been destroyed, and it is. And then Frank and Nada are walking along around the base, and then we get another iconic scene where I'm going to hand it over to you, Ross, where they literally walk into this room where it's like almost I'm I'm trying my best to behave and not mention other things because it'll turn into a whole other show. I'll just say gathering of very rich, powerful people in a room with someone kind of giving them a breakdown of their progress today and how well things are going.
Yeah. Year in review. Yeah, it's the very so this reintroduces Drifter, who we saw earlier in the camp. Actually, I'm gonna call back to a scene with this dude in the homeless camp. He's a bearded drifter. This guy is like a pretty famous like grindhouse 80s actor though, George Buck Flower. I seen him play like I forget if it's RoboCop 2, but I seen him play like another role where he played like a homeless street person, and apparently like that was this guy's deal in the 80s, because I've seen him in like 2 or 3 movies playing similar roles. Obviously there's quite a bit different spin on this character, as Gaz was hinting at you. So he pulls up on him, he's like, hey guys, he's basically talking about like maybe this was it. Slipknot. I just saw this in the theater, so it was probably this. But he's basically talking like, hey, I knew we had all this stuff. Wishmaster was great. I knew we had all this stuff in common. He's talking about how alike they are. And Frank and Nada are both looking at each other like, we despise the aliens. We despise humans that sell out to the aliens, knowingly sell out their race even more. So every time he says something like that, you can kind of see them wince and look at each other like they both have their guns on them, obviously not in plain view, but like they're about to pop this guy. He's like, he has a lot of lines of like, hey, you know, glad we could all prosper together, and you guys should really buy some new, some new better clothes now they can afford it. Obviously wearing a suit, drinking a cocktail, different version of the Drifter than the one that we saw in the camp. But back when Nada got the binoculars and he was looking at the helicopter and looking at the resistant group at the church, Frank is sitting with the Drifter, and he tells that story about San Anselmo. And like, I actually, you know, the 8 o'clock in the morning track by Guerrilla Alliance is obviously the intro I used purposely, because he said like, one of my boys told me they got a cold out there, end of the world kind of stuff. So he actually does reference a pandemic back in 1988, like way before any kind of modern pandemic was ever mentioned. And then he talks about kind of people going crazy and turning on each other. It kind of reminds you of like those movies like The Crazies or whatever, where, you know, like a bio experiment or biological weapon turns people against each other. But it's kind of like Gaz said, multi-layered references in multiple parts of the movie. But so this guy gave you a little bit more that, like, you know, he maybe could have hinted that he could have known some of the stuff that was going on. Obviously, we encounter him in Act 3, and he's like the sellout. He's like the stereotypical human, like what you would call a familiar in the Blade universe. You know, the type of humans helping the vampires. These are like, human familiars helping the pizza face aliens. So they go in there. There's one of the politician, you know, aristocrats, aristocracy, oligarchy, as Gaz was hinting at, giving them kind of the year-end report. Hey, we defeated the terrorist faction. Profits are way up. Proceeds are way up. And a lot of that calls back to what the hacker was saying in his signals, which is that, you know, they're terraforming Earth, turning our planet into their planet, which is why there's so much fossil fuel, why they're changing over the carbon dioxide, because they're flat out swapping out our, you know, atmosphere for theirs, in which case, like Gaz said, us being, you know, a farmable resource will ultimately replace us. You know what I mean? We'll only be needed till we get to that point. And then it's, you know, replacement of our atmosphere, replacement of the human race from the inside out. Really quick, though, I think before they went in there, or I'm not sure if it was before or after, but I thought it was before, when he shows them the Stargate of
I thought it was no, I'm sure it's after, because I was waiting. That is a scene I'm definitely going to comment on, because that's very iconic as well. Because he talks to them and then he says, right, I'll take you on a tour. And then he's walking him down the corridor, comes across, I think, two guards possibly walk past him, or there's some kind of like checkpoint. He's like, okay, boys, they're with me, you know, how are you doing, kind of thing.
Yeah, these are my friends,
shows them that, you know, is doing a bit of the kind of sales pitch on them, I guess, on the benefits of joining them. Yeah. And then that's when he says, right, I'm going to show you something really, really special. And then, man, this is another legendary scene. you see these guys kind of with like business briefcases in suits stepping on this platform, and that's taken them to, and I'm not 100% here, but I think does somebody reference the Andromeda Galaxy? Does someone say it?
Yeah, I think it's on the loudspeaker. It's right. Like your trip to
Andromeda. Yeah, the reason I'm bringing that up, yeah, Ross is obviously the true crime guy, you know, here, but ancient aliens, alternative history, paranormal, and everything like that. Yep, I'm definitely, you know, interested in all of those areas, and could do shows with Ross and all of that stuff. I thought it was such a good subtle reference of the Andromeda Galaxy for, if anyone follows what I've just said, for referencing, that's where either there's a theory that we are supposed to originate from there, or ancient extraterrestrial visitors are supposed to originate from the Andromeda Galaxy. So I thought that was another subtle reference in the film, and it's multi-layered, Ross, as you said.
Absolutely.
Again, the way it's shot with the angle, they're stood on this platform with kind of a suit, hat, business briefcase, and then you just see them literally kind of like, Greg, I'm going to reference this because I know you're a Trekkie, kind of as if they're almost like beamed up, and then they're going to appear, you know, in like I say, in Andromeda, and then they're taken away from that, and that's when this guy, this is when he takes them up to the news offices, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. So a little more context. So like Gaz said, I think when they first got down there, it said like there's bilingual directions for the tunnels if you get lost. And then Frank and Nada go up to the sign, and he's like, what language is that? He's like, I don't know. So obviously one of the bilinguals is like American English, but obviously the other one is like, you know, obviously alien. I think when it tells you it's Andromeda, it gives you the context of like that language is the Andromeda language, actually, you know, at least how Carpenter depicted it, which is like interesting. Then he says like, hey, I'll bring you guys up to the radio station. You ever been in a TV station before? So this is kind of where it all culminates. Obviously, the movie has been dancing around this, but obviously Holly is a production director, whatever her, you know, assistant, whatever her title was. So they've kind of been dancing around, and then obviously the Resistance meeting, they were talking about thinking that the signal was originating at the TV station. So obviously Drifter brings them in there. There's two guards. They can kind of see the filming room, but they're in like the soundproof like studio room. And there's two guards there. He's like, Drifter's like, hey, this is probably like as far as we can go. And they're like, can you get us inside? I've never seen a radio station before. And that's when the guards start pressing them like, hey, do you guys have like your IDs? Do you have your papers? And you want to tell them how they responded, guys?
Well, another iconic scene, they shoot the two guards.
You're like, right here.
Right here, and the guards fly back, and that's, you know, and the guy who's been escorting them there, hit the reaction on his face. It's classic, man. His
reaction is also, he's like, he can't believe that they did that they wouldn't just like go from like homeless to a sellout.
And that's when I think, and isn't it that when he says, more or less like, are you guys sure that we can't win? They own everything. We're just a commodity to them. We're like resources, food. Literally, after they've stripped what they can get from this planet, they'll move on to the next. They do this everywhere.
Like you can't beat them. Yeah,
you can't beat them. It's so it's just like in that one speech kind of just sums up the entire weight of the film, as this is what's happening. And I think, is this when they break through? He asks them to open the way into the studio, isn't it? I think. So that happens. You see like the whole kind of newsroom when they enter, which it's hilarious, but again very well shot. And I think this is where they find Holly. And this is another sign where it's so obvious that she's helping them. I mean, because she just calmly, casually appears, doesn't she, walking down the corridor?
Yeah.
When Nada finds her.
And right. And as Gaz was saying, the shootout has already started at this time. So for her to be like not reacting to anything that's going on or panicking.
Yeah, because everyone else is panicking, Because just before that, I think he asks a lady sat at the desk, right, can you tell me the way out of here or the way the roof? Oh no, he's asking
Have you
where
heard
Holly
of
is.
Holly? Have you heard
Holly,
of
yeah, and she kind of says something. So he says, "All right, kind of, thank you very much." Whilst all this chaos is happening, it's just like
this
polite moment.
Scene is so sick though. Like I love the way that like they're clearing floor by floor, and then like you see the SWAT units come in with their little like location meter, kind of like a la Aliens, and they're searching for him with their tech and stuff, and just them going floor by floor up the stairs and stuff. I think like you said, he was asking another person, like, how do you get to the roof? Yeah. And then obviously there's multiple ways up there. You could kind of see the reaction of the reporters when people start getting blown away, and it's the live news. And then he cuts to those production managers or whatever. And they're like, what the hell's going on in there? And they storm in there like they're going to take control. It's like, two guys just took ARs and started blowing away your whole building. Like, you're not going live.
Yeah, you're right. I skipped ahead again because after that, there's when you get the shot on the camera where it says we're experiencing technical difficulties. You think?
And they're like, what's going on there? Dude, this fight scene is so good.
It really is. One of the best ever, isn't it, man? It really is.
One of the best ever.
It has to be.
But this end scene is kind of, as far as this reminds me a lot of I don't even know what else I could put up there as far as maybe Escape from New York, or I get like Assault on Precinct 13. It's kind of got that, the whole idea of storming the building, because what Gilbert told him on is like, hey, we need a strike team, an assault team that's going to hit him hard, but the team is just Frank and Nada. It's just two guys.
They're pretty much all that's left on the West Coast from that resistance cell. And this whole part in the final act really is a series of legendary scene after legendary scene, because when they do find Holly, as we said, who's calmly walking down the corridor and can't take the elevator up to the top, so they go into take the stairs. And again, the SWAT team is getting nearer and nearer. And sadly, Nada takes out some SWAT guys that are on the stairs above them. Holly takes the pistol from Frank's back. You don't see it, but we know she's taken out Frank, sadly, which still sucks because Keith David's awesome. I
hate that scene. So what they show you is Nada clears the stairs, like Gaz said, as he rushes up there. Right when Frank's about to back him up, Holly takes out the pistol and puts it to Frank's temple, and then he blacks the screen, but you hear the gunshot, so you don't actually see Frank die on camera, but you know that she just put the pistol to his head and you heard the shot. So
it really sucks because of the camaraderie, the brotherhood they had, which was literally born in them almost killing each other in the alleyway,
vinegar out of each other,
and it's such it sucks, but it's memorable as well because here's someone who's collabing with the aliens against the rest of humanity. So it really does. I feel it really brings it home to you because there's the obvious humor as well, but of course there's the underlying message in the film.
It's like you want them to win. They're going against the odds, but you want Frank and Nada to win.
But this is one of the tragic moments and sets it up for what we're going to get into now, where you know what's coming and there is going to be that tragedy, and I guess that sense of that self-sacrifice as well, because after that, then Nada is on the roof, sees the huge signal ray in front of him. There's a chopper circling near. That's got a guy with I think he's got an assault rifle, or might be a sniper rifle. I think it's an assault rifle.
I think so,
and he's looking and he's lining up with his pistol, so he's going to take this thing out, and this is when Holly then confronts him, and Nada realizes, right, she shot Frank, and she's like,
switch sides. So he's like, Frank, are you clear? And she's like, I'm clear. Are you? And then he turns around and sees that she has the gun on him. She has the pistol now that she took from Frank, pointed at Nada. He has like the big 50 cal Desert Eagle. The chopper is circling and tells him to drop the gun or whatever. So Nada fakely drops the big pistol, and then he reaches into his sleeve, and he had like a mini PPK or whatever, like one of those small mini pistols in his sleeve. Pulls it out, Pulls it out, and then he starts shooting the radar. Which man, that close up of the alien device of the power source, absolutely sick. Kind of looks Back to the Future flux capacitor. It's like a I forget what the word, but it's like a conduit inside of that.
The whole way it's shot, and then when the camera pan, he's taking Holly out, and then as you said, he takes a signaler out, and Nada gets shot, and we see Nada on his back. Just the expression on his face and the way that's even shot as well, man. That's such a powerful scene, and of course, and then that sets up probably one of the most in our, I think, for both of us, and hopefully the people here as well, probably the most epic, legendary close to a film that I think that we've seen. Just the series of montages.
Oh yeah,
kind of because after that, then obviously the signal's being turned off. So then everybody globally, can see these pizza.
Yeah, they don't have the blocker, the cloak for the pizza face aliens anymore. So the veil kind of pierces the veil.
And I think the first scene is there's the two reporters in the studio, and one of the guys says, "Hey, you both look really." Sadly, I can't say. So
you look like crap.
Yeah. But
they're like, "What? What's wrong? What's wrong?" The aliens can't believe it once they get exposed.
And that reminded me of, and I'm sure some of the heads in now, of the scene in the OG Howling movie, the first one, right at the close of the end, where the chick turns into a werewolf, like on live TV, and everybody is like sees it and freaked out. And I thought it was kind of like a nod to that. I don't know if it was if that was intentional or not. And then we see people, the Howling, the original, right at the end of the movie.
I don't think I've seen that. But
dude, it's probably one of the classic. We could put it on PXF Classics, one of the classic werewolf movies. But right at the end of that movie, dude, there's the whole thing on do werewolves exist or not, and she actually turns into
a transformation. That's pretty
live TV. Yeah, it's pretty sick, man. If you want to get a word in about this before I keep fanboying,
no, I don't care. No, go ahead.
But after we see the shot in the studio of the two reporters who are clearly aliens, there's a series of other montages now. There's people sat in the bar who turn around and the guy sat next to them is an alien. There's loads of sequences like that. There's a humorous one where, I'll put this as politely as I can, a man and woman are engaged in close quarters romantic liaisons, and she kind of looks up, sees the TV of these two aliens, and then looks down, and this guy's like, "Hey, what's the matter, baby?" And it's, of course, a pizza face alien, so she gets a shock of what she's engaged with.
Yeah, so there's a little John Carpenter director gag there. There's one of the movie critics of just a dork talking about violent grindhouse movies, and he's like, these directors like George Romero and John Carpenter are using too much violence. He basically has a grindhouse movie gag in there, and obviously it's just some alien dork complaining about it, right? So you don't obviously care about his opinion. And then there's the dude at the bar, there's the reporters on the TV, and then there's nice brunette or whatever she was, blonde lady, topless, riding on her man during relations, but it just shows the up angle from her riding topless, and then it goes to the down, and that's the last shot before the credits drop. But he's like, "Hey, what's wrong, baby?" And it's obviously the alien. So
excellent simulation skills there, Ross. I've tried to dance around it and put it mildly. I thought you got the acting well. I'm not going to say what you do when I'm not talking to you.
Absolutely hilarious ending though. And that's the thing too. It's a semi-realistic ending for what this movie is. The fact that if Frank and Nada were taking on that many enemies, it wouldn't really be realistic for both of them to live. I'll show this print real quick that I got, and then we can move on to a little bit of production notes, but we can drop a rating as well.
Oh man. Oh
yeah,
dude,
people keep getting me They Live memorabilia, so I'll continue to.
Oh, it's just so sick, dude.
Build my shrine. Hey, what's wrong, baby?
Yeah. Oh man,
yeah, I think we can get into ratings, and then we could do a little bit of post-production stuff if you guys.
Yeah, and I definitely want to mention some of the things it's had an influence on as well. Is something I do want to come to after that, which is related to hip hop, and this actually happened in one of the cities in the States. But I'll mention that when we get past the ratings.
Hell yeah! Well, you guys could go ahead and drop your ratings in the chat if you want to rate along with us. It's got a 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb, which I don't agree with. I'm just going to do mine, and then we'll have Gaz react. You can see if you guys can see mine.
7.5, man. No, I'm usually eternally miserable on here. You know how my ratings are. No way.
I gave it a 10 out of 10. They Live is probably if not my favorite sci-fi action movie behind Blade Runner, at least in my top 2 or 3. So I'm a big They Live guy. 10 out of 10. Love John Carpenter. The fact that he directed, wrote this. One thing, quick mention. It's based on the 8 o'clock in the morning short story Sci-Fi by Ray Nelson.
We'll have to get that.
Yeah, I've read that, and I've read the Nada comic strip.
Nice.
And it appeared in a sci-fi journal. I think it was called Fantastic something. You guys can Google that, but I just want to shout that out too, that Carpenter kind of wielded this together from kind of 2 pre-existing stories and put his own spin on it.
There's a couple of things, because for me, Pixie's at a 9 out of 10. I'm the same. This is probably one of my all-time favorite movies, along with Ross. Long before we came over at YouTube, myself, Ross, and Mac have talked about this movie for 4 years, and its influence on music, which we'll get to in a moment. 9 out of 10 for the fact it's so ahead of its time. It's still relevant. The visionary shooting in terms of the camera work, the angles, the subtle references to so many other areas, ancient aliens, spirituality, our extraterrestrials amongst us, slaves to consumerism, for example, everything.
Dystopian, totalitarian government.
It's all there. Slip. That's a good question. Was the last alien an actor? Because I think we saw him in a car commercial in the movie.
I think I Googled that before, and I believe that's right.
Right. But, really good question. So you had the same hairstyle. Good eyes, man. Good eyes. Can only tell the aliens apart by their haircuts. Nice, man. Yeah. So has anybody else got any, before we chat about some post-production stuff and the influence it's had in popular culture, has anybody else got some ratings on it? Pixies at a 9. What about y'all?
Feel free to drop your ratings, guys. Themes. Carpenter has said that the film's political commentary derives from his dissatisfaction with the then U.S. President Ronald Reagan's economic policies, also known as Reaganomics, and what Carpenter viewed as increasing commercialization in both the popular culture and politics of the era. Upon the film's release, Carpenter remarked, "The picture's premise is that the Reagan Revolution is run by aliens from another galaxy. Free enterprisers from outer space have taken over the world and are exploiting Earth as if it's a third world planet. As soon as they exhaust our resources, they'll move on to another world. I began watching TV again. I quickly realized that everything we see is designed to sell us something. It's all about wanting us to buy something. The only thing they want to do is take our money." To this end, Carpenter thought of sunglasses as being the tool to see the truth, which is seen in black and white, as if the aliens have colonized us. That means, of course, that Ted Turner is really a monster from outer space. The director commented on the alien threat in an interview. They want to own all our businesses. A Universal executive asked me, "Where's the threat in that? We all sell out every day." I ended up using that line in the film. The aliens were deliberately made to look like ghouls, according to Carpenter, who said the creatures are corrupting us, so they themselves are corruptions of human beings. Genius concept. Genius.
Absolutely, man. Really is. And the impact that this has had on music, I mean, that's obviously how we met long before this. It's man, it's in the truth movement, conscious hip hop, spiritual hip hop. It's referenced so much in punk and hardcore. There used to be a crust punk band, and I don't know if this was intentional. They were named Consume, and all of their material and songs were literally about people being asleep and kind of slaves to consumerism, all the ads, everything like that. The point I mentioned earlier, which I definitely wanted to drop, we see DUMS in the film, the deep underground military bases. Y'all, for those who are into hip hop or are music fans, there is a documentary series on Netflix called Hip Hop Evolution. I don't know which season it is. I think they maybe did 2 or 3 seasons. In one of the episodes, there is a series of, it's like a secret lab that's in a building complex. I know it's not underground, but the point where I'm going with this is it was kind of pumping out the same commercial tracks every like 60 minutes or so. So, people say like, FM radio always plays the same tracks, top of the hour, the same one. It's like as if it's conditioning people to like this garbage manufactured music. I'm a hip hop head, by the way, but an underground hip hop head. So I'm not hating on hip hop. I'm just hating on the commercialization of it. And that always made me think of They Live as well. When I saw that episode, man, I thought, well, here we are. Here's like this kind of covert use of pumping out the same tracks. And the guy who we're talking to, Ross, he had some sunglasses on. He was keeping his identity secret for obvious reasons, or he could lose his job. And this guy, they had rows of these computers, man, where they were just pumping out the same track every hour. And I'm like, man, the capital that's gone into this. So it's not really getting ahead on its merit, on it actually being a good song. And obviously some will do. But this is literally being force-fed to people. I'm like, man, it's like something you'd see in a sci-fi movie. And that's why it made me think of They Live. And I thought, man, and we've both seen so many documentaries and these references to the DUMS that they supposedly have in these in cities as well. And yeah, man. Ross was in a crew called Guerrilla Alliance with Mac, and that's how we all kind of met way back in the day. Conscious hip hop dudes. So yeah, definitely, man.
Man, I want to recreate that fight scene with Mac so bad, with me dressed as Nada and him dressed as Frank, and like just recreate that fight scene as a whole, like They Live short film, just a fan film, just with me and Mac doing the fight choreography. I think that'd be absolutely hilarious. Yeah, don't quote for me, but I heard that on the Planet X Records channel, there's a song called 8 o'clock in the morning with Guerrilla Alliance performing Nada and Frank versus, and on the Hobo with the Machete mixtape. Yeah. But you didn't hear that from me.
Yeah. Is that what was it? It was just asked as proof of our hip hopness. Well, if you go on the Mosh Shinobi channel, you will see past episodes on there going way back of us doing interviews with hip hop heads. I think we've got some of them on the channel. If not, we've got the audio because we had on, oh man, Hellraiser, Six Sins, all cats like that, and just check out all the collabs.
M80, quite a few people.
Anyway, man, let you get a word in.
Yeah, let me join the show.
Yeah. You're only the main host.
Let's start the show. Let me see if I can pull up some a little bit of They Live wiki here.
Thanks everybody for coming through, by the way. Much appreciated.
Idea came from a short story called 8 o'clock in the morning by Ray Nelson, originally published in the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, November 1963, involving a protagonist, George Nada, and an alien invasion in the tradition of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which Nelson, along with artist Bill Ray, adapted into a story called Nada, published in the Alien Encounters Comics Anthology, April 1986. Carpenter described it as a DOA type of story in which a man is put in a trance by a stage hypnotist. When he awakens and realizes the entire human race has been hypnotized and that the alien creatures are controlling humanity. He has only until 8 o'clock in the morning to solve the problem. Carpenter acquired the film rights to both the comic book and short story and wrote the screenplay using Nelson's story as a basis for the film structure. Always interested me that he combined those two stories, guys. I don't know how many people know that. Here's the thing about the screenplay being Frank Armitage. I told you guys that. There was something specific in here that we'll do a little bit of the fight. Budget only slightly greater than $3 million, which is crazy. I believe that's $2 million more than Terminator 1, which is really insane when you think about it. I think Terminator is only 800 or 900. One of the highlights of the film is a 5.5-minute alley fight between Nada and Frank over the pair of special sunglasses. Carpenter recalls the fight took 3 weeks to rehearse. It was an incredibly brutal and funny fight along the lines of a slugfest between John Wayne and Victor McLaughlin in The Quiet Man, which I haven't seen. Excuse me if I butchered his name. There's something in here that I know particularly Gaz is going to want to find. Let me see if I can find it. Legacy. I don't know who that guy is. I heard about this, guys. I haven't played Saints Row 4. Features an extended parody of the film with Roddy Piper and Keith David voicing fictionalized versions of themselves and a recreation of the fight scene between Nada and Armitage. I haven't played Saints Row 4, but that sounds amazing.
Yeah, that sounds like a perfect excuse actually to play it and do some commentary on it.
Have you seen this, guys? Punk band Anti-Flag used the film as inspiration for the music video for the song "The Disease." Have you seen that video?
Yeah. Man, I haven't actually, no.
I don't think I've seen that video. Man, we got to get Guerrilla Alliance added to this of reference. Obviously, Duke Nukem, you guys should show that.
Well, dude, the amount of film references that were in your Guerrilla Alliance albums, a substitute, for example, I'm the Warrior Chief, and so many more, dude.
Yeah, that was Mac. But of course, we're both fans of the substitute. Top vigilante franchises, guys. We got to do a poll. John Wick franchise versus Death Wish versus what is the other one? Dirty Harry, the Deadpool.
Oh man.
Because Mac is the Death Wish guy. I know it's in here somewhere. Casting wasn't that. Oh, here, what do we have here? The screenplay was a product of so many sources. Lovecraft. Frank Armitage is an allusion to Lovecraft. Armitage's character in Lovecraft's The Dunwich story. I know people get super deep into the Lovecraft verse. I don't really know the first thing about it.
It's oh man. Again, we could do a whole other series on it, but Lovecraft. We do come across a bit of it in hip hop, but particularly big in death metal. Lovecraft, there's a lot of it in there because the whole cosmic horror vibe as well has got very popular in recent. Because you've got like a subgenre of black metal now, cosmic horror, and it's all like kind of like Lovecraftian influence with the other gods and all this kind of stuff.
Maybe it's. He made a statement in here about like a sequel, and I wanted to read that for you, but now I can't find it. I don't even know where the hell it went.
All right, I'm gonna.
Not that release. Spend the original date. No reception. It's gotta be this Legacy. Talks about the South Park thing. We mentioned that. Timmy versus Jimmy. I've come here to chew bubblegum. Duke Nukem. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, Future. It's got to be this. All right. 1996, while promoting Escape from L.A., sorry about that, guys, Carpenter revealed that he'd always wanted to make a sequel to They Live. as it's one of his favorite films, but was never able to get interest or financial backing for the project. Like, if we could just freaking crowdfund, I'm sure he could do very well crowdfunding it. You know, like he brings in 1 or 5 million and shows it to him, and that's startup money. In 2010, a remake movie was stated as being in development with Carpenter in a producing role. In 2011, Matt Reeves signed on to direct and write the screenplay, which would be interesting. I don't know how Matt Reeves would do with that, to be honest, because I don't know. Like, I'm 50-50 on Matt Reeves. He's not terrible, but I don't know.
Would you prefer, though, a sequel with Carpenter at the helm rather than a remake, because it's such a classic? Can you? Yeah, I don't think you can.
Yeah, it's like he's in a Ridley Scott situation. It's like the last couple things he directed were not that good. So like Matt Reeves could arguably be a better director at Carpenter at this current juncture, but is he a better writer than Carpenter? So I think regardless, you have to have Carpenter on the screenplay. If it's just him stepping back producing, like Gaz was just saying, well, that's how you end up with Sperminator, Fart Fate, and all the other trash that James Cameron produced. Some of this whack Ridley Scott stuff. I haven't seen Romulus, so I won't speak on it. I think Gaz said it was at least okay. You know?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
The project eventually shifted away from being a direct remake of They Live to a readaptation of 8 o'clock in the morning, with intents of abandoning the satirical and political elements of the original movie, because that's a good idea. Usually when you take out all the original elements of a story, it stays really cool. By October 2023, producer Sandy King, who's Stephen King, who's John Carpenter's wife, me and my cam op Gabe from Z-Files actually met Sandy King at Comic-Con, along with what's his name from Trauma. October 2023, producer Sandy King stated that a modern audience could see similarities with events of the movie going on in a real-world context, while stating that an expansion from They Live would be announced shortly, while acknowledging the possibility of a sequel becoming a reality. Like, this is 96 and 2010. Those are your updates, people. So, again, nothing to go crazy about, but I thought you guys would mention it because me and Gaz are that massive They Live fanboys. We're always waiting to see what happened. So I missed out on the chat. Let's see what you guys were talking about. Death Wish. Yeah, I mean, Death Wish is a Mac. We couldn't do Death Wish without Mac, but we could do other Bronson stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe some John Wayne. No sequels, no remakes. Just leave these fantastic movies alone. Leave Britney alone. Yeah. It is very good. Is that Edward's review? No.
For Romulus, yeah. I thought the only gripe I have, man, was skill. I thought it was okay. I thought it was decent. A little rushed though, and fell off a little in the final act. But probably one of the better movies that's out at the moment that I can watch. So much better than Philophia P.
I like the idea of the VHS.
Yeah, better than Joker Part Poo.
Yeah,
Joker started again on that. But so probably the best thing that you can actually see at the moment, especially when there's Hellboy the Crooked Man, which I have another name for, which I can't say on here. But that was abysmal.
I like Hellboy, but they messed that up. But you get this on NECA, and nice. They have Frank. They also have the two Pizza Face Alien newscasters. That's a cool one. It's like a 2-pack, but. Obviously, I got this because Nada is my dude. Of course, we had to get this on there. Election Day special, guys. So if there is a world after Tuesday, make sure you watch They Live on streaming between now and midnight Monday, because you don't want to, place it too close to the apocalypse. Streaming on Amazon. Go cop the Steelbook. You can get this on Amazon. I got mine if you have a 4K Ultra DVD player. The other thing that we're promoting, PXF special for Election Day, is The Apprentice. It stars that dude who played the Winter Soldier in Captain America Pooh, guys. What the heck's that guy's name? Extremely famous actor, far more famous than me.
You know about the guy who did play Captain America, or the dude who was Bucky?
The Winter Soldier dude. He plays Trump. Sebastian Stan. Yeah, he actually plays Donald Trump at The Apprentice. So go check that out. Crowdfunded it. It's a PXF co-signed it. Bro, I'm gonna check this out too. Let me know what you think. They actually have my name in the crowdfund on the digital copy. So I'm gonna probably stream that tonight. I'll post the trailer in the community tab later, but definitely check out The Apprentice. Paradigm Review Show, PXF. special, Election Day special, 2024. They live.
Let's say this quick. Ed said he's going in cryo sleep, so if we join him and when we all wake up from cryo sleep, hopefully the world's still left. Do you think there'll be like a Star Wars Part 500?
Yeah, without a doubt there will be. It's just the only question is it going to be Lady Gaga as Princess Leia's, like, you know,
singing in the entire movie again?
Trash. Yeah. Get me on Patreon. I still have 2 more Most Dangerous Game adaptations to do that I just haven't gotten to yet. Slave Girls from Infinity and Beyond and Deadly Prey. I will get both of those knocked out. Then after that, check out the schedule for November. We have all the films. So Fire Pixie, you said I didn't like you, but we're reviewing your 2 recos next, Toxic Avenger and Red Dawn. So if I didn't like you, I would have put those way at the end of the list. I think we're going to do Gladiator 1, a.k.a. Wackiator. I'm going to leave Wackiator Poo up to Gaz. Let's make him suffer through that. And then depending on what he says, or if you guys want us to roast it, we'll go off what the crowd suggestion is. Pretty soon we'll post the December final schedule of the year. Definitely have Rashomon. We want to get Kurosawa in there, and definitely Dirty Harry. We'll try to get The Boys season 4 and Nosferatu in before the end of the year. That's everything. Obviously, we're going to do Horizon for Thanksgiving, so hopefully that's dope. But check out The Apprentice. It is in some select theaters. They're pulling it pretty quick, but you can stream it at home, I think, now on demand. So check out The Apprentice. I'll share the trailer under the community tab. And that's it, pretty much. They Live. John Carpenter, Keith David, Roddy Piper. The Thing review went really good as far as views. So Gaz had the idea of us doing the Thing 2011 prequel. Yeah. So we're open to doing that as well. But hopefully we could get the rest of this schedule banged out for you guys. Any other suggestions? Leave them in the live chat or below in the comments. Click join for a membership. Check out the patron. Pixie just dropped the link. Check me out on PXF on Patreon, and I think that's the majority of the updates. Like, sub, share. What do you got, guys?
I was just going to say, any more Zodiac stuff coming up? Any more shows?
Not really. I mean, I'd say just go check out the last 3 shows, which are me and Jerome on the Donald Lee Cheney, Sandy Panzarella, Folly of 2, Madness of 2. Before that was myself and the Gray Brothers and Rich talking about media influence. No, not media. We're talking about Joseph Stephen Holt, who is a Donna Lass suspect, a viable suspect for Donna Lass. And then before that, it was the Dion and Craig media influence of the Zodiac. See how fun this is, guys? Remembering 3 topics of 3 shows.
Yeah, it is. And this is why I stick to.
Why you don't bother?
I stick to history, martial arts, action movies, man, and music.
Stays in his lane.
My head would explode if I sat in one of those Zodiac.
Bro, that's why when you're like, what's going on with Zodiac? And I'm like, hold on, guys. When my brain melts all over the camera. It's like, but I am thinking about doing one show possibly with Dion and Rich for December 20th, Lake Herman Road timeline, if it works for them around that weekend. So I might do one more Zodiac interview, and then I'll keep you guys updated on 5 and 6. But if you want to support the show and support the main series, best thing is donation buttons in the link tree, PayPal, or click join for a membership, or join the Patreon. Because, guys, if you don't know, the series is 100% out of pocket by me from episodes 1 through 4. So it's not like major, corporation funding here. So
a quick shout out to you all as well. I've said it on other shows, and I'll probably continue saying it. As you probably heard us both throughout this review, we are interested in a lot of other areas as well. I know someone mentioned in one of the last shows they wanted us to look at Bigfoot. Me and Ross are heavily into all that kind of stuff as well, cryptid creatures and such. So if there's some area of interest that you think that you would like us to cover, you may have heard us talk about it, like as you said, the alternative history, ancient history, Bigfoot, as I just said, just reach out. I don't think I've seen a 7th seal slip, no. But I just want to, again, thank you all for coming through. Much appreciated. We'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to support and subscribe to the channel. Mosh Shinobi, you can find us there as well. That's our other channel. A little quiet on there at the moment. I hopefully will have a deep dive up soon for My Life After Fighting, which is a pretty sick Australian martial arts film. The main actor, was in. I don't know if you saw The Last Ship back in the day. He was in that. He's kind of like he's a bit like Scott Adkins, and he's been on Scott Adkins' channel as well. He's kind of like this Brit Aussie martial arts dude, but it's a pretty sick movie, so that's one to check out. And we'll just see you on the next one, and have a good weekend, good week, y'all, and peace out.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen The Seventh Seal. Sounds familiar, but probably not. Also, Legend of Boggy Creek, which I finished, guys, is pretty insane. It's super old, but like a classic 70s grindhouse movie. As far as Gaz said, if you like Bigfoot, if you like the cryptid topic, then Legend of Boggy Creek is definitely an Arkansas story you're going to want to hear.
Oh, this sounds interesting, though, Slip. I've just quickly looked up that the Seventh Seal. A knight well on his way home meets death, who has come to take his life. The knight challenges him to a game of chess in order to save his life. Interesting.
Sounds like that song where the devil challenges that guy to play that song or whatever. Yeah, the PayPal link, Pixie, it's up in the top of the channel. If you go to the channel banner and you click the links up there, you'll see the Planet X Records LLC PayPal link, but also it's in the link tree. But Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, we take everything. Click join for a membership below, like, sub, share, and as always, leave your recommendations in the live chat or below in the comments. We'll check out Seventh Seal, get that on the list. But like we said, Western's coming, Kurosawa coming, and then I'm going to try to work in some of the Zodiac goes to the movie series for the new year 2025, which is all the movies Zodiac reference, Rampage, Vanishing Point, even Bullet and Dirty Harry and all that stuff. Well, Dirty Harry we'll be doing in December, so don't worry about that, but everything else. Sounds cool. Slipknot, good stuff. All right, guys, They Live. Go check it out. 1988, John Carpenter, Roddy Piper, Keith David. Get the 4K Steelbook on Amazon or stream it on Amazon Prime, aka Scamazon Slime. Okay, I'll check it out because Last Action Hero was not my favorite Arnold, but it is what it is. All right, guys. Let us know what you think of the They Live review. Check out the Thing review, and then if you want us to do the Thing 2011, we'll keep that in mind. I don't know if we're going to be really doing any more Carpenter anytime soon, but maybe Escape from LA down the line for my PXF Classics if I feel like it. So I feel like we've done a lot of Carpenter lately.
Yeah.
But it's for good reason. Good reason. Subscribe to Moss Shinobi. We're out. Shout out to everybody who came through. Thank you, guys. Tune in next week. If there is still a planet and a United States of America and a life and a planet Earth, we'll be doing Toxic Avenger, OG, Trauma, Classic. Definitely be getting into Trauma, and we might have a little cameo for my boy Toxie a little week early. So Toxie will be joining us. Toxie will be joining us next week. Toxic Avenger. That's for Fire Pixie. And check out The Apprentice. I will post the trailer in the community tab. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Tune in next time. Like, sub, share.